Hello. Happy Tuesday. I'm Ashley Nassar, owner of Nassar Web Designs, and this is my weekly live Q&A. This week we're talking all about SEO. I'll do my usual little overview of it, and then I've got some questions prepared. As always, if you've got any questions while you're watching this, just throw them into the comments, and I'll get to them at the end. So SEO, this is a like big topic. Everyone's trying to figure it out, trying to master it, and it's confusing. It stands for search engine optimization, and this is basically Google's holy grail algorithm to how they determine if a website is a resource or not, and how you rank when you search something on Google. So whatever that may be that you're searching, Google wants to give you the most relevant, resourceful page that it can first, and then obviously, rankings go on from there. So how does that happen? Basically, there's a few different things that go into that. So that kind of takes us into our first question of what does SEO even entail? You've got two aspects of this. The first aspect is on-page SEO, and then the second page is off-page SEO. So when we're talking about on-page SEO, that means a few things. So the content that you're putting out, the architecture of your site, and then what we call the HTML. And this isn't HTML in terms of HTML coding, it's more of the HTML markup that's on your page. So the content, are you picking quality keywords? So whatever it is that I may be searching to find this key piece. So if it's a website, for my business, I'm going to make sure that my keywords are relevant to people who are searching for web designers, graphic designers, branding, social media, those things. Whatever your business may be. If it's a blog post, 10 ways to maximize your SEO, I want to make sure that my keywords are optimized so that whenever someone is searching something, it's going to take them to that article. And what would they search to get them to that article most likely? And then when we talk about beyond your keywords, you've got, what is the information that you're putting out? Is it fresh? Is it relative? Is it relevant to something that's going on right now? Is it a hot topic thing? Is this something that people care about? What's a quality, or what's a way to kind of relate this? If you're searching how to build, I don't really know a good enough analogy for that, but is it relevant to what people are wanting right now? And then something that goes even beyond that, and when we talk about the content, is do you have vertical content in there? So do you have images? Do you have news pieces, Twitter clips in there? Do you have video? Is there something else that's other than just text that's going to provide more resource or give something more to your user? And then at the end of the day, is the content answering a question? Is it providing a resource to somebody? So you could be trying to talk all day about blogging, or SEO or whatever, but if the content doesn't answer any of those questions or providing those resources, it's not likely that it's going to rank as well. So that's kind of what we talk about when we're talking about the content aspect of that. And then we get into the architecture, and this is a little more the backside of your website. And in my opinion, it has the easiest things that you can tackle to improve. So do you have crawl errors? And I'll talk a little bit later about how you can check for that. But if you've got those crawl errors, an example of this is maybe you had a web page that was there once upon a time, it's in your sitemap, but that page doesn't exist anymore. And Google doesn't know that. So it's trying to follow URLs and it gets somewhere and there's nothing there. That's when you get an error. Are you duplicating content? So that's okay. You can repurpose content. You can, reuse things, but does it make sense in how you're doing it? And are you handling that in the structure of your website the right way? So not just, like reblogging something, but updating it, repurposing it, giving it a new archive date, all of that. Is your site mobile responsive? This is something that has been on the rise in the last 10 years and is not going anywhere. Majority of users are going to websites from their mobile devices. So whether that be a tablet, a phone, you don't have as many people browsing on their desktops. Now, this still does, but again, if people can get to it easier from a phone or from something like that, you're way more likely to be considered a relevant, updated resource. Does your website load fast? Do your URLs make sense? Do you have an SSL? So do you have HTTP before your website, or do you have HTTPS? These are things that, if you are taking any kind of information from somebody, so an email, a name, anything, you need to have an SSL on your site. Google, that in the last year has been a big push of theirs. And they're not hard to get. You can get it through your host. You can buy them other places. If you are through certain hosts, they include that with your website, but it's something you want to have. If you have a store, you have to have that, or you can't have credit card processors on there. And so again, those are all areas that are easy to improve. It's an easy fix. You can go buy an SSL. You can, check for your crawl errors, fix those. It's not so much something that you're kind of having to consistently work on. And then the last part of that further on page is the HTML. So again, that's markup. Do you have an HTML title that has relevant keywords to what someone might be searching? Do you have a meta description on that page or that post? And does it also relevantly explain, what it is that I'm looking at, and does that apply to the keywords that someone might be searching? Do you have headings on your page? So heading 1s, what we consider subheadings, but headings 2, headings 3, that lets Google know that you've got some content, you're breaking it down. You're not just throwing a bunch of stuff on a page and like shoving it in someone's face. It's thought out. That's not necessarily always the case, but that's a lot more of an indicator that it is than just no headings that don't relate to the keywords and the content that's on the page. So that's all on-page stuff, and that can kind of be a lot. And then you've got what we consider the off-page SEO. So this is the trust of your brand, of your website, your links, what we call the personal aspect of it, and then the social aspect of it. So the trust, when someone is accessing a link to your site, where are they getting it from? Is it coming from a trusted resource, and it's not from so you can, like, for instance, there are websites that you can send your blog link to and they spam it out to people so that it builds traffic. Google's getting smart with that, and they're realizing that, and they are, making sure that it's not coming from stuff like that, because again, that doesn't speak to the credibility of the content. It's just like, were you smart enough to do something like that? When a visitor comes to your site, are they staying there, or what they calling, is it a bounce? Are they leaving within a few seconds? I think that's like a 3 to 5 second, what they consider bounce. Are they going to another link after that, or are they just accessing that one link and closing it off? So if I'm sending someone to a blog post, are they then going to my contact page or my services page, or are they just reading that blog post, not clicking at any of the links on there and getting out of there? If they are, Google considers that to be, it's not as variable or it is not reliable as a resource as they would think. If it is, then they'd be more likely to stick around. Does your domain have history? So this is kind of a hard one, because if you're starting off with a business, you can't make your domain have history. Keep the website for a while. If you change domains, if you change business names, making sure that you're keeping those domains and having them reroute, forward to the new domain or whatever business it is that you may be using. And then, do you verify identity when someone's coming to your site? So that's kind of browser based, but then it's also, if you've got people logging in, like, are they actually having to set up accounts, or are they just being able to go in? If you've got authors on your site, are you providing their identity to people, or are you just saying, like, Joe Schmo wrote this and there's no more information about him? And then, is your content ad heavy? So you can use ads, that's fine. And especially when we say above the fold. So above the fold is considered when I first look at something either on a phone or a tablet or whatever, before I have to scroll is considered above the fold. So that first thing that I'm seeing, is that ads in front of my face or is it content? Be making sure that you are using ads where they make sense and not spamming the people that are coming to your site is going to help you out a lot there. And then, so that's all trust stuff. So links are the links coming from trusted sites. So that's what we kind of talked about earlier. Is someone accessing it from, a reliable source, an Instagram post, a Facebook post, an email newsletter, not from spammy sites. And Google has ways of knowing that are beyond you, but, not doing stuff like that to just get the products out there, but actually taking the time to, get it out there in a meaningful way is going to make a lot bigger difference. When you have links, in a post or on a site, are they going to other trusted sites? And then on the same, are they going to sites, to links on your own site? So making sure that you balance that. If I'm talking in a blog post, I'm writing about something and I mention social media, I can reference over to another social media post and link that in, and that's kind of verifying a little bit more. You want to make sure that you're not doing all links to internal, your page, or all links to external, but having a mix of both really helps. And then, do you have spam links? So things that, lead to spam or are a spam heavy site, what Google would consider spam heavy. So next thing is the personal. Now this is where are people coming from? And that's like a geographical, like literally where in the world are they coming from? Have they visited your site before? Are they repeaters? That just kind of helps, is it, if I'm marketing towards Greensboro or whatever city, am I getting a majority of people from there? Am I getting outside people from there? If I'm getting outside of that, I might have a little bit more of a trust. If I'm getting good reach within that area, that also means I've probably got good trust. If they visited before, that's not necessarily like a heavy factor, but you want those repeat people to come back, read your content over and over, know that without even getting a link that I'm coming to your site to find something for whatever it may be. And then the last aspect of this is what we call the social. So is it being shared by reputable people on social platforms? So when we say reputable people, that doesn't necessarily mean like you have to have a certain amount of following. Now that helps. If you've got large following people resharing your information, I mean, that really is that's getting in front of way more people. You're getting way more people. The opportunity for people to come and visit your site, see your information has widened. But also, is it spam accounts? Are these like spam, the like Instagram accounts that just make accounts to like people and do nothing back, things like that? Or is it coming from well-trusted people? And then how many people are sharing it? So that's not necessarily, again, all of these things have different weights in terms of things, but, are a lot of people sharing it? Am I finding it enough as a resource that I want to share it out to my following? I want them to watch it. I want them to see it. And then I want them to share it on again. That's going to speak more to that. So, when you're looking at all these on-page, the off-page is hands down the most important aspect. You've got to get all that under control before you can start to look at the off-page aspect. Making sure that you've got a clean house in there is really going to help verify yourself with Google. So yeah, next question, what are some must-haves for SEO? So I kind of wanted, this is more of a technical aspect. When you've got a site, you want to make sure, you have to have a sitemap. So this is and there's a few different ways. It's an XML file. It can either be, if you've got WordPress, there's a plugin to make it. If you've got stuff going through Google, it can be creating it. There's different ways to go about making sure that you have that, and we can talk about that at another time. But so having that tells Google what it should be expecting to see, or whatever. I keep saying Google, but we've got Bing, you've got all these other search engines, and they use what they call crawlers. So when it's crawling, is it finding everything that's on that sitemap? Is everything where it's supposed to be? Does it all make sense? The next one's what we call a robots.txt file. And this gives actual instructions to the crawler. So when it gets there, it's telling it what it should be going to see, if something's moved, what that should now be in, whether if it gets somewhere it shouldn't pay attention to that. It goes a little bit more in depth. A sitemap doesn't tell it anything to do. It just gives it the actual like tree of what your pages are, what your posts are, what, you know, all of that. So those are some kind of like must-haves. And SSL, like I said, that and that is getting more important. So you might have been able to get away with it for a while and still had good, you know, rankings, but that is something that they're really starting to care a lot more. And if you are accepting any kind of information, you want to make sure you have a privacy policy and a T's and C's, terms and conditions on your page. So there's easy templates for those that you can literally say, what am I asking people for? And it'll kind of write it all up for you in a nice, like, safe legal. If you've got a lawyer, like, have them check that stuff over too, but I'm not going to, like, go too far into that. Now that's like some general kind of just like tech stuff with it. Some other must-haves, and I've got a great freebie for blog posts and what, you know, you're kind of like must checks off for having SEO on that page. Again, your titles, your headings, the keywords, making sure that your images are optimized, making sure that any of the content on the page is optimized, and so on and so on. And then last question, and I'll kind of get this wrapped up because it's been going a bit, but what are some good resources? So one of the best ones, Google Search Console. This is going to tell you if you've got crawl errors. This is going to tell Google you have a website and that it should be pulling it into its searching. And then it's got some really other cool stuff. A lot of insights into who's visiting your site, what's going on with it. It's pretty cool. Moz. So Moz is a resource for not only like articles, but they also have what's called an open site explorer. And this also is another way to pull your site in. It'll kind of read over it, see some major things, tell you things you need to fix, so on and so on. But Moz itself, M-O-Z, has lots of great articles, tutorials, how-tos, anything you want to learn about search engine optimization, SEO, they've got it. And then, so also similar to this, Yoast. So Yoast has a lot of great resources as well. If you're a WordPress user, you should have a Yoast plugin. It will automatically, not automatically, I mean, you kind of have to go through and fill some stuff out, but it gives you a green, orange, yellow on how your rankings are, if it's all set up right. And that's really going to help just take some ease off your mind. So I think that's it, guys. As always, I'm Ashley Nassar, owner of Nassar Web Designs. And if you want to learn any more about SEO or any other web things, go over to Nassar Web Designs. Thanks.